Travelers are moving from a destination-centric paradigm, whereas they consumed their vacation as a product, to a more experience-based journey where they need to find meaning. This poses a problem to hoteliers because the more the experience is authentic, the less the environment can be controlled. And this means less safety, less comfort, more stress and anxiety, and that's not good for the overall experience. We're seeing the emergence of new niche destinations and consumer patterns really pushing the envelope and taking people to extreme places all over the world. I've decided to visit one such location. My name is Sharif Mamdou, and I'm about to experience something really special. But first, let's go and get some advice here at EHL, where every day the hospitality industry is being explored, shaped, and taught. EHL, short for École Hôtelière de Lausanne. The first hospitality management university in the world just turned 125 years old. It's at the forefront of research and innovation and works with hoteliers across the world to understand new trends, new opportunities, and new ways to harness the great power of technology to the benefit of the fastest growing industry in the world. And so, my quest to understand the future of extreme hospitality begins. I met with Reza Etemad, marketing professor, and Lloyd Terrier, psychology professor, who helped me understand how travel was changing, what drives people to extreme places, and how hoteliers can offer them the best possible experience. It was fascinating to see how wrong I was about certain aspects of extreme tourism, and I got some invaluable advice from my own upcoming experience. Well, let me tell you, actually, I've decided to travel to the Atacama Desert in Chile and visit a really special place located in one of the least hospitable places on Earth. And it hosts scientists who go and work there for the exceptional observational conditions. I need to see it. I need to understand how people go there and manage to work and live and feel safe in such extreme conditions. I'm about to go and visit a crazy place and try to understand exactly how it works for the hoteliers and for the guests. What should I look out for?
I think what you have to focus on during your travel is first to identify what the company can do for improving the wellness of their employees. The second point will be how to cultivate also their guests and how to educate their guests. We know that in this context, it will be challenging for the guests, for example, about the consumption of water or other restrictions that we can have. So it's important to communicate about the limitation and restriction that we can have, so they have to educate their guests.
Okay, and finally, same question as for Reza. What are the things I need to look out for from a psychological point of view?
First of all, you have to check if people in their environment are happy. And after, you have to check how the organization manage this satisfaction. What concrete actions are done in order to generate this satisfaction? Always manage the lack of intimacy, lack of privacy. Especially what you have to check is the way they manage the needs of the individuals in their situation, in their environments.
Okay, so I have a better idea of what to look out for. I'll really try to get a sense of how the place I'm traveling to deals with the huge challenges it faces and the role it plays in allowing the science to happen. But most importantly, understand what can hoteliers learn from it to develop an offer that responds to the growing trend of extreme travel. The site I'm going to discover hosts one of the world's largest telescopes, the VLT, which stands for, well, Very Large Telescope. And it's run by the European Southern Observatory. And just as anticipated by Reza, I've received an induction package that serves to reduce the element of uncertainty just before departure.
You're about to experience one of the world's most remarkable places for astronomy, science, and technology. Far from any city and above the clouds, in one of the driest places on Earth, are huge telescopes just waiting for night to fall. This is the story of an epic adventure.
Because they know that long and boring written safety instructions are probably read as thoroughly as airline safety pamphlets, they've produced a neat little video. Watching it, I'm being warned of the most important safety hazards, but I'm also getting excited. They've managed to start providing the experience before I've even begun traveling.
Of course, the experience will be different in this kind of environment. That's why the company or the hotel should really well communicate earlier with the guests in order to assure that finally the experience will fit with the expectation that the customers can have. And this is very important because we can imagine that in some environments, the comfort will be less obvious.
Welcome on board. In preparation for your tour, please pay attention to the following safety instructions. Use sunglasses, hats, protective clothing, and sunscreen over SPF 35. Drink plenty of bottled water or juice.
This place looks seriously hostile, and trying to control the environment seems futile. The best way to reduce uncertainty is surely to empower the traveler.
In the majority of situations, there's constraints, there's problems linked to extreme situation, are linked to a lack of control, lack of autonomy, and this is linked to the risk. You have to work on the way you can increase the feeling of control, feeling of autonomy of the individual in this extreme situation.
And now, time to go. New and meaningful destinations also mean you need to travel way beyond the well-developed common routes. Getting there is part of the adventure, and it holds its fair share of plot twists. Going on to 48 hours without sleep, planes with technical issues, and massive strikes in a country whose language you don't speak, your ability to improvise flourishes, your determination peaks, and you tap into energy reserves you didn't even know you had.
The idea is really to combine, to assure and to give guarantees to the guests that finally you will have an experience with us and we will deliver you what you expect. So we can imagine in this kind of context, they are not targeting everybody. In other words, they bring people who are really believing in this project and in this environment and in this experience.
The farther you go, the less you feel in control. And as you really leave everything that is familiar behind, your mind switches into survival mode. Unexpectedly, there was a certain pleasure to be found in this chaos.
In a lot of polar mission, for example, a lot of participants express high level of stress, but also high satisfaction, high well-being. You really have to pay attention. This is not just a bad thing. Stress can help you to increase your cognitive abilities. We're looking for stress. Some people more than others, but we're looking for stress. And this is probably the reason why so many people are looking for that kind of experience.
After 2.5 days of delays, missed connections, cancelled flights, and a few hours driving on the famous Ruta 5 across the desert, I finally reached my destination, with a lot more stress and fatigue than anticipated. But what an experience. There it was, the Very Large Telescope, a true modern wonder. And there I was, in one of the least welcoming environments on the planet. Okay, so here we are, Atacama Desert, 2,400 meters. This place is completely out of this world. Dry as a bone. Actually, it's the driest place on Earth. I can feel it. My lips crack, my skin cracks, my mouth is pasty, I'm thirsty all the time. The air is extremely thin because of the altitude as well, so you can get dizzy, you can experience altitude sickness. The sun is brutal. The UV light is through the roof around here, so you can get serious sunburns in just a few minutes on a hot summer day. No animal or plant life to be seen. Nothing lives here. And if you just look around, the place that resembles this landscape the most isn't actually on Earth. You look around, you feel like you're on Mars. And this is so true that actually NASA came right here to test some of their Martian rovers. And I have no idea why anybody would want to come here. So let's go and find out. Arriving at the gates of what they call the Residencia, which is where the astronomers live, and what I came halfway across the world to see, I got a deep sense of satisfaction. Of victory, even. As if getting there was an accomplishment in and of itself. But I was just getting started. Leaving the unforgiving aridness of the desert, I opened the door to a lush microcosm of tropical serenity. Walking through the quiet hallways, I couldn't help but get a deep sense of humanity. Just as you would imagine in a Martian colony, the people who lived here strived to create a safe and serene environment that reached them at an emotional level. They needed to feel at home.
Lack of intimacy is another issue, clearly. Generally, in that kind of extreme situation, space is not enough to provide a sufficient level of privacy, of intimacy. And this is another problem, because external conditions are sometimes too extreme to go outside. So you have to stay in a small place with a small amount of people. That increase your feeling of isolation, of loneliness.
So, just like the other 150 people on site, I'll try to make myself at home. I can finally rest for a while. But I still have a lot of questions that need to be answered. So let's go and see the people who live and work here. I met with Christine Debord, the Logistics and Facilities Manager. In charge of the safety, comfort, and entertainment of everyone at the VLT's base camp, she bears the great responsibility of making sure the astronomers are able to perform their duties unaffected by the hardships of this high-altitude desert. She's the equivalent of a general manager in an actual hotel, so just the person I need to speak with to understand how this place is run.
Well, it's not an easy task, as you can imagine, in the middle of nowhere, in the desert of Atacama, 120 kilometers away from the main city, Antofagasta. So we have to planify everything in advance. We have to be very well organized. For example, for energy, fortunately, the Chilean government connected us to the grid. So now we have 100% electricity, always running, etc. And we also have, of course, a backup generator. For water, it's a bit more complicated because there is absolutely no water in the desert. So we have to bring 2 to 3 trucks of water every single day. For the moment, we don't recycle water, but we have planned to install an osmosis plant next year to recycle at least 1/3 of our consumption. To give you an idea, each person here consumes 420 liters per day in average. In the residence, we are even planning to put in the shower, for example, this timing for showers. You press the button and it only flows for certain minutes.
If I reduce my expectation before coming here, I will have a better experience than if I can imagine that I will go on holidays and finally I see on the seat that I cannot take the shower that I want. So it's important to communicate about the limitation and restriction that we can have, so they have to educate their guests.
I had been told of the extreme conditions and the absence of life in this place. But then, there he was, a young Andean fox, attracted to higher altitudes by the scents and sounds of the residencia. A stark reminder that as careful as we may be, we will leave a footprint and we will risk upsetting the delicate balance of the ecosystem we enter. New destinations force us to think about every single aspect of human existence, from an ecological standpoint, but also in terms of sustenance and logistics.
In terms of hospitality management, the main concern are the supply. It's very difficult to bring people here to have regular deliveries of goods, for example, food. Ingredients to have fresh food is always a problem. As we are in the desert of Atacama, nothing grows, so we have to import everything from the south. So we have one, maybe 2 trucks delivering every week, but if for any reason the truck doesn't arrive, we don't have our ingredients, so food is a big problem.
There's a really homey atmosphere throughout the residencia. The place is clean and safe, the food is fresh and tasty, the staff efficient and friendly. But how do you get qualified personnel to come all the way up here and provide such quality service?
And in parallel, it's also very important also for the company to cultivate well the employees, because we can imagine that some environment it will be more difficult, more challenging to hire people.
For the other hospitality management aspects, we sometimes also have problems to hire staff, like cleaning ladies and cooks and assistant cooks. It's not an easy environment, and some people do not sleep at night, for example. They really have problems with the altitude, and obviously your body also, with a lack of oxygen, suffers a little. So to a bit counteract these effects on the body, we try to organize the shifts of the staff in a way that they work 8 days on site, and then they go home for 6 days. They have time with their family, they have time to recover physically.
As the purpose of this place is to be a conduit for its visitors to fully appreciate a unique experience, in this case, observational astrophysics, selecting and nurturing the right staff is absolutely paramount.
My team and myself, obviously, try to provide them all the services and the comfort they need to relax and to be able to work in their own area. However, in terms of management, it's exactly like a hotel. We have standard rooms with standard equipment. Sometimes some rooms are personalized to have the feeling that you are at home. But mainly we manage it from the booking of the rooms to the cleaning, the fumigation, maintenance of the room. It's all done like a standard hotel. I would say a 3 to 4 star hotel.
Before going up to the telescopes, I was introduced to astrophysicist Jesus Corral Santana. He specializes in X-ray binaries, which are binary star systems made up of an ordinary star and another collapsed neutron star or black hole. As the astronomers, telescope operators, and engineers started their long shift, I watched in awe, mesmerized by the complexity and beauty of this machinery. I felt so privileged to get a backstage pass to this once-in-a-lifetime show. As the sun sets, the residencia comes to life and starts buzzing with anticipation for another night of science. Residents are reminded to shut their blinds, and a massive curtain unfolds to cover the main dome and prevent any light from disturbing the astronomical observations. The once quiet hallways of the Residencia become a place of gathering where greetings and pleasantries over a quick dinner give way to mind-bending discussions that aim to unlock the mysteries of the universe. But as much as I wanted to hear all about that, we needed to stay on track. I needed to hear what Jesus had to say about his experience as a guest of the Residencia.
So the logistics department and the management department is doing a great job trying to offer us the best conditions possible. We have a lot of different facilities to relax, you can do some sports, you can go to the swimming pool, play music, in order to make us feel safe and comfortable, and it's super important there because we are very isolated in very dry conditions and high altitude. The environment, the people around us is super important. I mean, there are different departments. There are the department of astronomers, operators, engineers, but all of us are working for a common goal, is to provide the best that we can to give the astronomers the best conditions possible. The Residencia is helping me a lot to do what I came to do here. You are like a family at the end. You feel like a family. You love, I mean, it's great here.
Sometimes it will be more challenging for the company to find a good environment, and this is a second challenge for the company, so to increase the socialization, not only between employees and the guests, but also between guests themselves.
You can feel the headache because of the altitude, because of the dryness. We have some gardens, and those gardens are important to increase the humidity, for instance. It's not only for something fancy to have some beautiful trees. You have to adapt yourself, your body with the days. You shouldn't run during the first 2 days. You shouldn't go to the gym and do some very active sports the first 2 days. You have to do it slowly. If you look at the profile that we all have here, we all like these kind of extreme experiences. It's true that sometimes it's difficult because you are out of your family for a week or 10 days or 14 days, but in general, the feeling is it's really nice. And being here is the best job of my life.
So there we have it. The European Southern Observatory actually manages to run one of the world's most complex facilities in one of the world's most hostile places. What a feat. Younger generations are looking for uniqueness and a deeper sense of purpose also in their leisure. For a new and extreme destination to respond to this need, it must display outstanding organizational skills and be ecologically conscious. It must manage the guests' expectations and understand just how much stress they're willing to endure. It must cater to its clients' needs, but also nurture its staff, as few people are easily displaced to these harsh environments. Find the perfect balance between socialization and intimacy, and finally, clearly position itself so that everyone can unite and bond over a shared set of values and a common goal. Everyone on site felt like they belonged, united by their passion for science. This sense of purpose defines everything they do here and allows them to overcome most difficulties. Finding meaning is the key. And every time they leave their families and the comfort of their homes, they're actually going home to the stars.
We see that more and more companies and hotels, they try to go further than normally the traditional way of traveling. So the idea is to create an experience, not only traveling, to give a sense to this travel, and at the same time to create value for the guests by combining and increasing the socialization between guests.
Home. There's no place like it. As a species, we define ourselves by this need to belong. Our complex social nature means that we exist mostly through our peers. And yet, humans have this insatiable thirst for discovery that forever uproots them and pushes them beyond the boundaries of safety. This is what drove Homo sapiens to conquer every stretch of dry land on the planet, that took us beyond the confines of our terrestrial atmosphere, or saw man-made spacecraft fly past the edges of our solar system. We all have this deep within us. Today, travel is changing, and the hospitality industry will be there, as always, to understand and meet those expectations.